Believe it or not, you don't need a tour level swing to break 80. I'll show you what it actually takes, using the math. And the first important number is green light drives. Drives that put you in position to hit greens in regulation. And in my experience, I need to hit at least 10 of 14 drives into position. And we'll start today by doing just that. Next, how many times do we either hit greens or miss around pin high when we're in position to do so? I need to do this only about half of the time in order to break 80, like I do here with the short iron approach. And finally, we count how many times we two-putt. This goes hand in hand with drives in play as the most important metric we need to nail in order to break 80. And here on the first, a good two-putt from range
Good putt.
allows me to start this round with a par. We'll keep tracking these numbers throughout the round.
Thank you.
Another drive in play here is a good start. And now, some prudent course management to set up a good approach on this tricky par 5.
201 to the water, 293 to the stick. So 190 club at the water should be okay.
Taking the water out of play allows me to advance this ball to a good position with the scoring club for the approach.
Should be fine.
But I mentioned I only need to hit greens about half the time with the scoring club in hand. And this time, with water on my right, I pull my approach offline and into a greenside bunker. It qualifies as my first bad shot of the day. Another stat we'll keep track of. More on that one later. And now on to one more useful number to keep track of. How many times we scramble when missing greens.
Thank you.
From this lie, I only expect to get up and down about 1 in 4 times. A good bunker shot gives me a look at it. And we'll consider this up and down to be a rare bonus. I already mentioned the importance of hitting greens or missing pin high. So on this tee shot, I'm not selecting my club based on ego. Instead, I'm evaluating where to miss. This is an uphill tee shot, and the green is protected by bunkers short. So I'll club up to ensure that I miss long.
It's a little deep.
This is technically not a green in regulation, but it's a safe miss, just long and on the fringe. And now I'm not thinking about birdie. I'm just playing this downhill putt defensively, and the result is an easy par that technically qualifies as an up and down. Onto the tee shot of the short par 4 fourth. Another drive in play is welcomed, once again leaving me with a scoring club in hand. And I mentioned on 2 that we'd get back to counting bad shots. The first time I broke par, I hit 9 bad golf shots. And on average, I hit more like 15.
Oh, I mishit that really bad.
Having this math in the back of my mind allows me not to sweat the instances when I hit bad shots, like this one. I know that the most important shot in golf is always the next one. And even though I hit this chip a bit past the hole, I'll settle myself before the par putt. I get this one to go, and it's another successful scramble for par. I mentioned that the single most important stat I track is balls put into position off the tee. And here on the short par 4 that's technically drivable, I decide that the risk isn't worth trying to hit one over the trees towards this green, and instead opt for a 3-wood that I know I can draw into position. Mission accomplished, and it's another green light drive.
Yeah.
And from this range, I'd love to fire one close to give myself a good look at birdie. But sadly, I chunk it. And it's my second poor shot through 5 holes. But I won't lament it over the next one. I come into this ball a bit steeper than the last shot, and this time it works out even better than I could have hoped for. I have a makeable one for par here, and wouldn't you know it, it's another good up and down for par. 6 plays is stroke hole 1, meaning my expected score on this hole is a bogey. There's water up the right, and bunkers on the left side of the fairway at about 250.
Gonna aim right at those bunkers with the cut.
So I've committed to a plan over this one, and it's another one into position. Nonetheless, it's a long way home.
We got 190 playing 197. We're gonna aim a little short right.
I'm hoping to draw this hybrid in, with my expected miss being short right, but I wind up getting all of it, and though it draws a hair, it winds up in a pretty nasty spot.
Ooh, long into the bunker, I think.
Pin high right, but with a ton of bunker to cover and a tightly tucked pin. The goal here is just to ensure that I have a putter in hand for the next one.
I mean, I'm not unhappy at all.
Mission accomplished, and after a decent lag through the fringe here, I won't complain with carting my first bogey of the day. More important, I won't allow the bogey to change my plan over the next hole or attempt to claw strokes back. It's another drive safely into position, and with water crossing this fairway and playing all up the left of the hole, I'll aim safely up the right with a 3-wood.
Thanks.
It's another good one, and another scoring club into the green. And even though I catch this one a bit heavy, the result is nonetheless an uphill birdie putt. It's reasonably well judged, and now I have a testy 3-footer to maintain consistent 2-putting today. And fortunately, I get it to go.
Okay, we got 142. We're gonna keep doing this thing where we take more club, cutty 7-iron.
Since arriving in the desert, I've been pretty committed to taking more club and taking smooth swings. I'm hoping to fade this one in with a 155 club.
It didn't cut.
But even after not hitting this one as intended, it does hit the green, and I leave myself a long lag for birdie. And distance control is far more important than line on these long lags, so although this one misses low, it leaves me an easy tap in for par. 9 is a tough hole. Even a good drive on this uphill tee shot leaves me a very nervy approach shot.
204. I'm aiming short left.
There's a ton of trouble online with the pin, and I know that it's an easy up and down from short left, so that's where I'm aiming. Poor execution means this one is on a more aggressive line than intended, but it does work out, and we'll close the 9 with one more attempt to scramble greenside. I'm right on the border of putting this one instead of chipping, but with a good lie, I do opt for the bump and run with a wedge here. I basically see these as long lag putts that I'll use just a bit more loft on.
Thank you.
And once more, I've hit a good one into tap-in range, and we'll close the 9 with a par. And it's a 9 I'm happy with. Every drive into position, 5 scrambles for par, and only 4 bad shots. Let's see how the math shakes out on the back. It starts with another tee shot where I'll do everything in my power to avoid the water on the left, even if it means lengthening this short hole. It's in play, and leaves me a scoring club in hand. But with water still threatening to snag any ball that misses left, this is probably my least committed swing of the round yet. And while it does leave me a putter in hand for the next one, it's easily my longest putt of the day, and comfortably within 3-putt territory. I mentioned already that distance control matters more than line on these putts.
Wow!
And for the first time today, I've misjudged one. I have about 12 feet coming back for par.
Oh, it just hung up there.
And I can't get it to go. Oh well. On to the par 3 11th, where I'll talk you through my shot process.
All right, a la George Bush, I'm going to talk through some strategery here. So it's 160 to a front flag with a ton of room behind it. So usually I'd take my 180 club here. The problem with that club is that it likes to go left. So I'm just playing literally 4 short right here because that's safe. Hitting a 6-iron, which in the best of times does get there, but hasn't been today.
That seems well and good, but maybe the water was still on my mind, because check out this shot.
Okay, you can shank it off the golf course too. Oh, it's on the golf course. How good was that?
Add another one to the bad shot counter. This one probably deserves its own category if I'm being honest. But in any event, I do have a line into this green, and hopefully escape with no worse than bogey.
Should be good.
It actually turns out great, and this one is makeable, but I don't quite get it to go.
Yeah, it just doesn't want to turn. Thank you.
So an inauspicious start to the back. But as usual, it's not on my mind on the next shot, which turns out to be arguably my best drive of the round so far.
The flag's yellow and sticking up there. I'm intentionally playing it right over the bunker here.
We're back to choosing conservative targets and fully committing over this one, and it's right on my intended line, leaving just a flip wedge into the green. But unfortunately, for the second time with a wedge in hand today, I do this. One more to the bad shot counter, but to this point I haven't hit back-to-back bad shots, and fortunately this one's much better. It rolls out more than anticipated, and this is a downhiller that I'll play defensively. It leads to another good 2-putt, and just a bogey. Finally, the course offers some let up on this short par 3. I'm able to hit my first green in regulation on the back, and just my 4th thus far. And this is a tricky putt up the hill. A tidy lag will enable a crucial 2-putt to get off the bogey train, and I'm able to do just that.
Yeah, waist area there.
My buddy Jason puts one into the waist area here, and part of the motivation for making today's video was to point out that I think a part of scoring, and my game in particular, that often gets overlooked is how often I put balls into position off the tee. I've yet to hit a single stray one with the big stick today. That is until this.
That one will be findable even if it's in the waste. Yeah.
Add 1 to the bad shot counter. And now, for the first and only time today, I stack together back-to-back bad shots. This one's tricky too, with the bush impeding my backswing, but I managed to get it back in play.
How good was that?
With just a short iron in, I'm hoping to plop this on the green and get out with no worse than a bogey. But this is the third bad shot I hit on this hole.
Trap? Well, this is new. I've never been stymied by a palm tree.
And this is no joke either. I can't play this directly at the hole, but with good distance control on this one, I do at least give myself a makeable bogey putt. And I'll treat it with as much concentration as if it were an eagle putt. It's on a good line, but doesn't quite drop, and it adds up to a double. But after hitting a bad shot, I try not to change my routine over the next one. I'm pretty quick over the ball, which also helps me film rounds while maintaining pace. It's almost exactly 10 seconds between the time my tee is in the ground and I pull the club back.
Good swing, Adam. Smooth. Down Main Street.
And the stray tee ball from the last hole is just a distant memory.
Okay, 177. This is a bit too much club, but I don't want to be short in that trap. 4 hybrid.
On to another good plan, and poor execution.
Oh, I chunked it right into the trap. Oh, it's on a piece of grass.
I'm lucky that this catches an island of grass between the bunkers, and this effort with the wedge is right on line with the flag and leaves me 10 or 12 feet down the hill for par. I don't quite get it this time.
Oh!
And despite the score ticking up on this back nine, I'm just fine with a bogey here.
Well, I'm going 5 hybrid. Or 6 hybrid, I don't really know. 26-degree hybrid. That's the club of a player.
Some self-effacing commentary here. And once again, it's the same quick pre-shot routine before pulling the trigger. The shank off the tee of the last long par 3 is in the past. And this time, the water doesn't get in my head. It's a tight draw just right of the flagstick.
What a golf shot.
Thank you.
And just my second green in regulation on the back. And the hole is on a spine here, so matching the speed and line is definitely a challenge.
I don't know how to do better than that, really.
Evidently, I'm pretty happy with that one. And I'll put a mark on it so that Steve can hit his putt, gather myself, and clean it up for par. 17 plays his stroke hole 2. The second and third shots in particular require some good decision making. And while this drive is hit low on the club face, it's nonetheless in play, and on to the next.
So 289 stick, only 150 to cover this, and 200 and change to the traps, so 190 club at the traps.
A good strike on my target line, taking this hole's major obstacle out of play, and leaving a straightforward approach shot.
Okay, 117, I'm on a ramp. It's late, it's cold, I'm hitting 9 iron.
And I thought this one was great, but it does come up a bit short of target, finally leaving what should be a straightforward up and down,
Should be fine.
which have evaded me thus far on the back nine. Indeed, this one turns out to be good,
Go in.
even threatening the hole, and I'm always happy with a par on a tough hole like this one. On to the finishing hole, which is actually drivable thanks to a speed slot past the fairway bunker, and one final time, almost exactly 10 seconds from the time the tee is in the ground until I pull the trigger. I'm not entirely sure whether this one's made it,
It did.
Okay, then that should be really close.
and it's a huge relief to approach the green and see that it has indeed almost gotten there. And here, we're not looking at a chip and a putt for par, but for birdie.
You will like this, Adam. I like this, Adam.
Get in for eagle. Oh,
Good birdie.
And as I laid out in the intro, it only took 6 greens in regulation to break 80 today, on a reasonably tough track. 6 up and downs helped the cause. A steady driver enabled scores today just as much as a hot putter to start the round. The missed greens and the bad shots will always eat around the edges of scores for amateur golfers. But with this math, you can still break 80 out there a reasonable percentage of the time. I hope you're able to keep some of this in mind in your next round, so you can more easily stomach the good with the bad, and conquer your next scoring milestone.